All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA Show. So what I'm going to call this podcast is Stop Following Other People's Lifestyles. And, growing up in the bar and nightclub business, and even around a lot of people that are very religious, I see a lot of people following instead of leading. I discuss this a lot on my podcast, even on my YouTube channel, that you got to create the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, if you are hanging around people or doing things, that you love to do and that is benefiting you, maybe, then that's wonderful, I think. But I do think a lot of people end up following other people's lifestyles that end up destroying them or setting them back or distracting them. And I think this happens with a lot of us. I think, have found myself maybe doing certain things with certain people that instead of helping me, hurt me. It could even be, financial situations where maybe you're trying to keep up with certain people financially. And instead of kind of being in control of your finances, you're losing control. Not only that, you're losing a lot of money. Also, hanging around certain type of people, they could end up getting you in trouble, even though you may like, again, that lifestyle, which is fine if you can handle it. But if you keep seeing yourself spiral and it not working out for you, you got to learn not, I guess you could say, thinking a certain lifestyle will work out for you a lot of times doesn't. I see this with a lot of dudes, especially that in the old days, guys that were dealers, let's say in drugs, right? And then I had friends that wanted to deal, and then all of a sudden, they'd get busted. They kept having problems. And I used to say, listen, you're no good at this. Well, this one does this, and he gets away with that, and they do that. I'm like, yeah, but you're not them. This lifestyle doesn't seem to suit you. You're doing it either incorrectly, you may not be as savvy, smart, you may not have enough money, whatever the case may be, and I'm just using this as an example. But the truth is, not everybody is going to always, you're not going to always be able to live the lifestyle maybe that somebody else is living. At this point in time, it also may be definitely wrong for you. And it's hard sometimes to acknowledge that, especially when you're hanging out with a lot of friends, I think, and you start to gravitate towards them more and more, which again is wonderful if you got good friends. But sometimes, I'm just telling you, a lot of people don't always have your best interest. And that can go for relationships as well. I don't care if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend. You're living maybe a lifestyle that they lead that doesn't fit you or you can't keep up with. I talk a lot about that in my book, Wingmen, where a lot of men think they want a certain type of woman. I don't care if it's a model, for instance, or an actress or whatever they think they want. The reality is, one is they can't live their lifestyle because they're just not them. They're not knowledgeable. Now, I'm not saying they can't become more knowledgeable, but they also may be very jealous. They may be very insecure. They may, they want to live a certain lifestyle again, but they're not comfortable living it again. You have to understand that. What you sometimes, again, think you'll fit into as far as an organization, or I don't know if it's a clique, or I don't know what it is, a lot of times you may find yourself there and not feel like, this is me. Like this may not be you for you. And it's hard because I think I went through that in the film industry a lot. I want to make independent films, and then I'm always thinking, well, my next film's going to be in Hollywood, and I'm going to go to LA, and then I ended up moving to California. I was in San Diego and then spending a lot of time in LA. Wonderful people in LA. I think a lot of them get a bad rap. Unbelievably creative. I get politics, get involved in stuff a lot of times, but for the most part, if you love film and you love music, let's call it, a lot of it is being created out of there, or a lot of talent is out of there, so it's hard to say that's all shit. I hear a lot of people always complaining about the industry, I guess you could say film, TV, music, and all this, but you still enjoy it, so how bad can it really be? For most people, it's not. But the more I was there, to a certain degree, at that point in time in my life, the more I didn't feel like I fit in. And that's the one place I found myself lost. Because I'm like, what's funny is I really fit in this lifestyle. I really understand these people. I agree. I love the creative aspect. I love the fashion aspect. I love the way they think. But I also said, you know what? There's also a big part of me that isn't this. I was able to kind of balance the two. But I eventually said, I'm not interested in this anymore. I'm not going to keep living a lifestyle that I didn't feel comfortable living, where I think maybe others, and I definitely think this happens in LA and a lot of places, they keep living this certain type of lifestyle that they don't even like anymore. They kind of find themselves being followers or just not knowing where to go or how to pivot or move onto other different things. And I get it. It's hard because, like I said, you may be for months, years, or decades said, hey, this is the lifestyle that I always wanted. I see it with a lot of musicians, actually, more than ever. So many musicians, because my family, a lot of them are musicians, but I know musicians that, they first start off at their garage, hypothetically. I know it's whatever. They start off at their house. They're doing local gigs. They love it, whatever. And this could be comedians as well. And then they start playing. And they like it, and they think, oh my God, one day I'm going to be on tour. One day this is going to happen, and I'm going to make all this money and all this. Then they say they get to a level where they're touring, but they're not making nearly the money they thought they would. They're living in a van or living a shitty lifestyle. It even happened to my cousin. The lifestyle you thought it was, it isn't. Now, don't get me wrong. If you become something massive, I'm sure it's different. But the odds of that, it's kind of like a 1%er being a billionaire, right? Or a multi-millionaire. It's not always going to happen. Before you know it, you find yourself in this lifestyle or leading this lifestyle that you didn't know it was going to be this, I guess you could say, hard or complicated. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And a lot of them end up, I think, and this happens with drugs, alcohol, because then I think what happens too is they find themselves kind of living this lifestyle that they don't like any longer. And, they either have to quit or keep going on. And then once your identity is that, what do? They usually keep going on to a certain point. And a lot of them fail. And a lot of them, I think, fail just because, not because they were bad or anything, but they may have just, you fail because you fail. That's just life in general. And I don't know, if you went on tour and you did all these amazing things and you got to perform in front of hundreds or thousands of people, you may have not become a millionaire. I wouldn't consider that failing. But maybe some others would, because you never maybe got a huge record deal and you never, became what you thought you'd become. But I do think a lot of times you could become more successful if, again, you create your own kind of lifestyle. It doesn't have to be what everybody else is doing. Just because you're a musician or you're in a band and say your other band members want to do drugs or drink or do, that doesn't mean you have to. Now, if they want to condemn you for that, you're in the wrong band. But if you don't want to deal with their bullshit, maybe you're in the wrong band, both ways. But following other people's lifestyles, I just think is ridiculous on every level. You have to create your own. Now, sure, there's going to be other people involved with that lifestyle, that may be things you're working on. But that, again, doesn't mean you have to be them and they have to be you, is what I should say. And I do see that a lot with the arts. I see a lot of people that aren't truly, even if it's their political beliefs, being in certain environments, saying they are when they're not. That could go for religious beliefs, claiming that they're a certain type, of religion when they're really not, feeling like that's what they want to be. All these things get very confusing, I think, for people. Just live your own life. Make your own decisions. You have your own journey. Go find it, man. You don't have to follow what everybody else has done in the past, because I definitely think with a lot of people, especially, I think when it comes to music, I'll just say bands, or, you think you have to go live this rock and roll lifestyle. You don't. You can live whatever lifestyle you want. If you want to create music and just do it in the studio, you don't even have to tour. You could do that. I don't think people even realize. You want to make films, you don't have to go to Hollywood. You can make them locally. There are so many different opportunities and things you can do. You don't have to be what others were to become successful. And I just think people don't realize that a lot of times, or they just don't have the balls to say, hey, I want to do it my way. And I get a lot of times the other ways will work, and people will be like, hey, how do you expect to make a lot of money in music if you never tour, you never do this? I'm just using for an example. Or how do you expect to make money as a filmmaker if you don't go to Hollywood and you don't get huge distribution deals, or you don't get on Netflix, or you don't do this? Figure out your own way. It's usually if you think about the ones that usually end up very successful, is they figured out a way on how to succeed for themselves, not always following what everybody else did. Because a lot of times when you do follow what other people did, a lot of times you're going to get taken advantage of, kind of like they did. And a lot of people don't realize that. So that's just things that I've learned over the years. But create your own lifestyle, man. You don't have to follow anybody else's. That I can assure you. All right. Hopefully this helps somebody. Maybe not. Who the hell knows? If you want, check out my YouTube channel. My website's richcelenza.com. Got a lot of stuff on there as well. All right. Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.